Let's take a look at these problems. Our first problem, we got 46 minus negative 10. Well, remember, if you have a negative negative, and we're combining these together, adding, subtracting. Remember, if you have a negative negative, that becomes positive. So this becomes 46 plus 10. You should always apply those shortcuts before you attempt to add or subtract numbers. 46 plus 10 then gives us 56. And that's our answer. Our second problem, we got negative 9 minus negative 8. Now remember what I just said about the first problem. You have negative negative, that becomes positive. So this is negative 9 plus 8. Now combine these together. One's positive, one's negative. So they're different signs. So we subtract smaller from larger, ignoring the signs. So 9 minus 8 is 1. And then the sign of the answer is the sign of the larger number, which is negative. So our answer is negative 1. Number 3, we got 14 plus 5 times 3 plus 20 divided by 5. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please do what's inside the parentheses first. So we're going to focus on this. Inside the parentheses, we still follow order operations. There's no parentheses inside. Please excuse. There's no exponents. My dear, multiplication or division. Well, we do have that. We have 5 times 3. That gives us 15. And everything else carries down. Still doing what's inside the parentheses. And the only thing left is to add these two numbers. Now when I add those two numbers, 15 plus 20 gives us 35. And the parentheses we can just drop away because there's nothing in front of it. And we just have parentheses on 35. Okay, please, we did what's inside of parentheses, which actually even got rid of our parentheses. It won't always. Excuse, there's no exponents. My dear, multiplication or division. Well, here's the division. And we got 14 plus 35 divided by 5 is 7. And Aunt Sally, addition, subtraction. 14 plus 7 gives us 21. Number 4, negative 3, negative 6. Negative 2 plus 5. Minus 8 squared. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please do what's inside the parentheses. Well, let's do this first. We got negative 3, negative 6. That's going to give us negative 9. Everything else carries down. Still doing the please part, doing what's inside the parentheses. So here we got negative 2 plus 5. Now that's going to give us a positive 3. And everything else carries down. Okay. Please, there's nothing left to do inside the parentheses. Please excuse exponents. Well, we have 8 squared. So let's do that. Eight squared is 64. Please excuse my dear multiplication division, as you can counter either one from left to right. Here's my only one. Negative 9 times 3. Which gives us negative 27. And then Aunt Sally, addition, subtraction. Negative 27, negative 64. If I add those together, gives us negative 91, I believe. And that's our answer. Okay, number 5. We got b squared minus 4ac. And they want us to evaluate that for a is equal to 6, b is equal to 9, and c is equal to 1. Well, whenever we're evaluating an algebraic expression, we go through, we'll put parentheses in everywhere we have a variable. So we got parentheses squared minus 4 times parentheses times parentheses. Now everything else remained exactly the same. We put the squared still there, the minus 4, we just go through and replace our variables with sets of parentheses. Well, we said b was 9, so I'll put 9 in for the b. We said a was 6, so I'll put 6 in for the a. We said c was 1, so I'll put 1 in for the c. And then we follow our order operations. Please do what's inside the parentheses. There's nothing to do inside the parentheses. Please excuse exponents. Well, here's 9 squared. Gives us 81, and everything else carries down. Please excuse my dear. Multiplication and division is I count either one from left to right. Well, here's 4 times 6. So we got 81 minus 4 times 6 is 24 times 1. Still doing the multiplication and division, and here's the next one. 24 times 1. So we got 81 minus 24. And then last thing is to subtract those. And 57, I think. Yeah, 57. And that's our answer. Number 6. Got negative 7 times 3 plus x is equal to negative 14. And this is solving a linear equation. Our first step is to get rid of parentheses. Well, this one we do have parentheses on, and we do that with the distributive property. So I'm going to take that negative 7, I multiply it times the 3, and I multiply it times the x. Well, negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. Negative 7 times x is negative 7x equals negative 14. Step 2, get rid of fractions. Don't have any. Step 3, get everything with an x on one side and numbers on the other. So I'll take that negative 21, move it to the right side. You take anything across or equals, your sign changes. The negative 21 becomes a positive 21. At any step, combine together numbers. Negative 14 plus 21 is 7. And step 4, divide both sides by a number in front of your x. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 7. And 7 divided by negative 7 gives us negative 1. And these negative 7's cancel. So our answer is negative 1. Number 7. We got 3 times 6x minus 7 equals 9x minus 6. Okay, step 1. Get rid of parentheses. I do have parentheses in this one. Use the distributive property again. I'm going to take this 3, multiply it times the 6x, and multiply it times the negative 7. 3 times 6 gives us 18x. 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. Equals 9x minus 6. Step 2, get rid of fractions. Don't have any. Step 3, get everything with an x on one side and numbers on the other. So I'm going to take that 9x and move it to the left side. And I'll take this negative 21 and move it to the right side. Now when you move anything across or equals, your sign changes. The positive 9x becomes a negative 9x. The negative 21 becomes a positive 21. Our note up at top, and these are the 4 steps if you remember from our lecture. Our note up at top said to combine together like terms in a step. 18x minus 9x is 9x. It also said to combine together numbers. Negative 6 plus 21 is 15. Step 4. Divide both sides by a number in front of your x. Well, number in front of x is a 9. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9. And over here, these 9's cancel, and this fraction reduces. We think of the largest number we can divide on the top and bottom, and that'd be 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So x equals 5/3 is our answer. Number 8. 5x over 9 plus 8 equals 1/4. Okay. Step 1. Get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Step 2. Get rid of fractions. We're going to multiply everything by the LCM of all our denominators. Well, we've got two denominators, 9 and 4. Our LCM would be 36. And I'll cover how to find LCM here in a second. I don't really got room. So I'm going to take 36 and I'll multiply times everything. So I'll multiply times this fraction. I'll multiply times the 8. And I'll multiply times the this fraction on this side is 1/4. Well, 9 and 36 are both divisible by 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. 36 divided by 9 is 4. 4 and 36 are both divisible by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 36 divided by 4 is 9. You'll know you picked the right LCM, or at least picked common multiple if all of your denominators have disappeared at that point. You got ones down there for them. Okay, so we got 4 times 5, which is 20x, plus, let's see, 6 times 8 is 48, so put 8, carry the 4, 8 times 3 is 24, 288, I believe. And over on this side, 9 times 1 is 9. Step 3. Get everything with an x on one side, numbers on the other side. So I'm going to take 288 over. Take anything across or equals, your sign changes. So the 288 becomes a negative 288. Our note up at top said to combine numbers in a step. 9 minus 288, negative 279. Boy, it seems like a bizarre answer. Step 4. Divide both sides by number in front of our x. Number in front of our x is a 20, so divide both sides by 20. And we get x is equal to negative 279 over 20. Assuming I didn't make a mistake. Let me double check myself. 5x over 9 plus 8 is equal to 1/4. Okay, well, that's right. Multiply everything by 36. Okay, 4, 9, that gives you 20x. Multiply that, 288. Multiply by that gives you 9. Take that over there. Seems like a bizarre answer coming out of the test bank. Let me double check myself. Get the answers down here. Yeah, sure enough. Negative 279 over 20. Just seemed bizarre. Okay, let's take a look at number 9. Or actually, I was going to look at show you how to find the LCM of 9 and 4. A very crude way to find a common multiple, not necessarily the LCM, is just to multiply these two numbers together. 9 times 4 gives you 36. That won't always give you the least common multiple. Okay, our steps for finding the LCM of two numbers is you write the prime factorization of each number down first. 9 is 3 times 3, and 4 is 2 times 2. Now your LCM, you start with your first prime, 2. Let's say 2. We're looking for the greatest number of 2's on a single line. I'm talking to the right of the equals. There's none here, there's 2 here, so the greatest number of 2's on a single line is 2. Then I go to my next prime, 3, and I'm looking for the greatest number of 3's on a single line. There's 2 here, there's none here, so the greatest number of 3's on a single line is 2. And 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 9 is 36. Start a new page and we'll look at number 9. X minus 56x minus 3 equals 1. Technically, these are like terms, this x minus 56x, and we can combine them together, but you're going to find it easier to get rid of the fractions first. So let's go through our steps. First step is to get rid of parentheses, don't have any. Second step is to get rid of fractions. Multiply everything by the LCM of all your denominators. Now if you only have one denominator, that is your LCM. So we're going to multiply everything by 6. We'll take 6 times x minus 6 times 56x equal, or plus 6 times negative 3 equals 6 times 1. When I say everything, I'm talking about what's separated by pluses, minuses, and equals. So that gives me 6x. Over here, these 6 is going to cancel. And we got minus 5x. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18, and 6 times 1 is 6. Now 6x minus 5x is 1x, or just x, minus 18 equals 6. Okay, step 3. Get everything with an x on one side and numbers on the other. So I'm going to take the negative 18 and move it over. Now remember, when you move anything across or equals, your sign changes. So the negative 18 becomes a positive 18. Combine together numbers at any step. 6 plus 18 is 24. And we don't need to do step 4 because there's no number in front of our x. So x equals 24 is our answer. Okay, number 10. Solve the inequality, express solution set in interval notation, graph it. Okay, so we got 2/5 x is greater than or equal to 3. Step 1, get rid of parentheses. Don't have any. Step 2, get rid of fractions. Multiply everything by the LCM of all your denominators. We only have one denominator, so that is our LCM. So we're going to multiply everything by 5. So we'll take 5 times 2/5 x, and we'll take 5 times 3. Now these 5's cancel here, and we got 2x is greater than or equal to 5 times 3 is 15. Step 3 is get everything with an x on one side. Actually, to be specific, get everything with x on the left side, numbers on the right side, and that's done. Step 4 is to divide both sides by number in front of your x. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. And we got x is greater than or equal to 15/2. Now, interval notation. Whenever you got a greater than, it's going into positive infinity. So this will be 15/2, comma, infinity. Infinities always have parentheses on them. Whenever you have a line underneath your inequality symbol, that means you put a bracket. So there'll be a bracket on the 15/2. Graph-wise, bracket on 15/2, bracket on the 15/2. And it looks the same way. And then you shade whichever way it's opening. The bracket's open to the right, so we shade to the right. And that's our answers, I guess, you might say. Okay, number 11. Got 3x plus 2 is less than 4 times x minus 8. Same instructions. Okay, step 1. Get rid of parentheses. Well, I do have parentheses on this one. Distributive property. I'm going to take the 4, multiply times the x, and multiply times the negative 8. So we got 3x plus 2 is less than 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 8 is negative 32. Step 2. Get rid of fractions. Don't have any. Step 3. Get everything with an x on the left side, numbers on the right. So I'm going to take this 4x and move it to the left side. I'll take this 2 and move it to the right side. So we got 3x minus 4x is less than negative 32 minus 2. Remember, when you take anything across your inequality symbol, the sign changes. The positive 4x becomes a negative 4x. The positive 2 becomes a negative 2. Now our note up at top says combining the like terms at any step. 3x minus 4x is negative 1x. Or you could write negative x if you wanted. Combine together numbers. Negative 32, negative 2 is negative 34. Step 4. Divide both sides by number in front of our x. Well, number in front of our x is a negative 1. So I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 1. And remember, when you divide both sides by a negative number, you flip your inequality symbol. So less than becomes a greater than. So we got x is greater than 34. Okay. Well, if you got x is greater than a number, then it goes to positive infinity. So this would be 34, comma, positive infinity. Now if it was x is less than 34, we would have negative infinity, comma, 34. Infinities always have parentheses on them. And remember, the only time we put a bracket is when there's a line underneath your inequality symbol. So this will be a parentheses. Now parentheses on the 34, parentheses on the 34, and we shade whichever way it's opening, and it's opening to the right. So those would be our answers. Okay, number 12. Find the slope of the line containing the 2 points. So we've got -7, -4. And we got -4 and 4. Well, let me label these. This is my first point, so I'll label this as x1, y1. This is my second point, so I'll label this as x2, y2. Now our formula is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now we're going to go through and we'll put parentheses in wherever we have a variable. Everything else remains exactly the same. So we just replace y2, y1, x2, and x1 with sets of parentheses. Well, now we plug in. We said y2 was 4, so where the y2 was, we put a 4. We said y1 was -4, so wherever we have y1, we put -4. x2 we said was -4, so we'll put a -4 in for the x2. And x1 we said was -7. Okay. Remember, a negative gives you a positive, so this becomes 4 plus 4. And down here, we got -4, and negative becomes positive, so we got -4 plus 7. 4 plus 4 is 8. -4 plus 7 is 3, so 8/3 is our answer. Okay, number 13. Find the equation of the line, write in slope-intercept form. We got 6 and 39. And 10 and 59. Okay, step 1. Find the slope. Well, we got to label these. This is my first point, so this is x1, y1. This is my second point, so that'll be x2, y2. And remember our formula is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we're going to go through and replace our variables with sets of parentheses before we plug in our numbers, just like we did the previous problem. Well, y2 we said is 59. y1 we said is 39. x2 is 10. And x1 is 6. Well, 59 minus 39 is 20. 10 minus 6 is 4. And 20 divided by 4 is 5. So that's m. Step 2. We got y is equal to mx plus b. And we're going to plug in the m we just found. So we just said m was 5. And then we're going to plug in the given point for x and y. And it doesn't matter which one you pick. You pick whichever one looks easier to you. Bizarre as it sounds, this second point looks a little bit easier even though the numbers are bigger. So I'm plug this in for x, plug this in for y. So put 59 in for the y, and where the x was, we put in 10. And then we want to solve for b. 5 times 10 is 50 plus b. Take the 50 over the left side, becomes a negative 50. And we get b is equal to 9. Step 3. We want to write our answer down. Our answer is going to be y is equal to mx plus b. So we're going to plug in the m we found in step 1, which is 5. We're going to plug in the b we found in step 2, which is 9. So y is equal to 5x plus 9 is our answer. Okay, number 14. Got 2, -4. And we got 8, -46. The instructions are still the same. Find the equation line, write it in slope-intercept form. Okay, so we're going to go through our same steps. First step is find m. Well, we've got to label this. This is our first point, so I'll label this as x1, y1. This is our second point, so I'll label that as x2, y2. Our formula again is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'm going to go through and replace our variables with parentheses. Then plug them in. We said y2 is negative 46. We said y1 is negative 4. We said x2 is 8. And we said x1 is 2. Well, negative 46 negative becomes positive, so that's negative 46 plus 4. 8 minus 2 is 6. So we got m is equal to negative 46 plus 4 is negative 42 over 6, or m is equal to negative 7. Step 2. Into y equals mx plus b, we're going to plug in the m we just found, which is negative 7. And then we're going to plug in the given point for x and y. And again, it doesn't matter which point you pick. I'll pick the first one. Numbers look smaller. Both of them, as weird as it seems, give you the correct answer. So I'll plug negative 4 in for the y, and I'll plug 2 in for the x. And then we want to solve for b. Negative 7 times 2 is negative 14 plus b. And then we want to solve for b by taking the negative 14 to the left side and becomes a positive 14. Or negative 4 plus 14 gives us 10. Okay, step 3. Write your answer. So we want to plug in the m we found in step 1, which is negative 7. We want to plug in the b we found in step 2, which was a positive 10. So our answer is y is equal to negative 7x plus 10. Let's start a new page. We'll look at 15. Okay. 15 says it contains the point negative 2, negative 5. And it's parallel to y is equal to negative 1/2 x minus 10. And instructions, find equation line has given properties, write it in slope-intercept form. Okay. So step 1. Find m. Our first sub-step within that is to write the given line in slope-intercept form. So we've got y is equal to negative 1/2 x minus 10. Now this is already in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form says you've got y by itself. Our second sub-step says to identify the slope. Slope is whatever number's in front of your x, so slope is going to be negative 1/2. That's why we put it in slope-intercept form, is so we can easily identify the slope. Okay, we said it's parallel to this line. We said the slope of that line is negative 1/2. And parallel lines have the same slope, so the slope we're going to find is negative 1/2. When you're talking about parallel, whatever number you find in 1b is the same as what you use in 1c. Okay, step 2. Into y equals mx plus b, we want to plug in the slope we just found, which was negative 1/2, and a given point for x and y. Remember, they give you a point, they give you a specific instance of x and y. So I put negative 5 in for the y, I put negative 2 in for the x, and then we want to solve for b. Now negative times a negative is positive, and 1/2 times 2 is 1, plus b. Take the 1 over the left side, becomes a negative 1, and negative 5, negative 1 gives us negative 6. In step 3, write your answer down. So we're going to plug in the m we found in 1c, which is negative 1/2. And we'll plug in the b we found in step 2, which is negative 6. So our answer is y is equal to negative 1/2 x minus 6. Now let's look at the perpendicular case. Contains 3, 5. and is perpendicular to x minus 2y equals 2. Okay, step 1. Find the slope. Our first substep within that says to write the given line in slope-intercept form. So we've got x minus 2y is equal to 2. Now slope-intercept form means you get y by itself. And it doesn't matter which side you take things to. I'm just going to take the x and move it to the right side. So we've got negative 2y is equal to negative x plus 2. And to get y by itself, we're going to divide divide everything, I should say, by negative 2. Now there's an invisible 1 here, so that's like negative 1 divided by negative 2x plus 2 divided by negative 2. So I'm dividing everything by negative 2, number in front of our y. So we've got y equals, and negative becomes positive, so that's 1/2 x. 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1. Okay. Our second substep says to identify your slope. Again, the reason why we put it in the slope-intercept form is so we can easily identify our slope. So slope is 1/2. Now our third substep. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. So we're going to start with 1/2. We're going to write it in fraction form. So 1/2. Remember, if you have like a 5, you would put 5 over 1. You can always create a fraction by putting it over 1. Then we're going to flip it. So 1/2 becomes 2 over 1. That's the reciprocal part. And then we're going to change the sign. That's the negative part. So positive 2 over 1 becomes a negative 2 over 1. So our m is going to be equal to negative 2. Again, negative reciprocals. Flip the fraction, change the sign. Now the other steps are the same as before. Step 2, into y equals mx plus b. Plug in the m we just found, which was negative 2. And plug in the given point for x and y. So this is x, this is y, specific instances. So put, or instance, I should say. Put 5 in for y, put 3 in for x. And then solve for b. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6 plus b. Take negative 6 over, it becomes a positive 6. And you get b is equal to 11. Step 3. Plug in the m we just found in 1c, which was negative 2. And plug in the b we just found in step 2, which is 11. And that's our answer. Y is equal to negative 2x plus 11. Okay, let's look at number 17. 5x minus 1 times 3x plus 7. Okay, we're going to take our first term, this 5x, and we're going to multiply it times the first term over here and times the second term. So I'm going to take 5x times 3x, and I'll take 5x times 7. And then we'll take our second term, the negative 1, and we'll multiply it times the first term over here and times the second term. So negative 1 times 3x and negative 1 times 7. That's just foiling in case you're comfortable with that technique. Now 5 times 3 is 15. X times x is x squared. 5 times 7 is 35 with an x. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3x. And negative 1 times 7 is negative 7. Now it doesn't matter where you are in algebra, you always combine together like terms. 35x minus 3x gives us 32x. And then everything else carries down. And that's our answer. Okay, number 18. N plus 10 to the second power. Well, we're going to rewrite this as n plus 10 times n plus 10. Now we can't just square the n and square the 10. And the reason why is because the plus here. If everything inside your parentheses is either multiplication or division, and you're raising the parentheses to a power, that's when you can take everything to that power. But if you've got a plus or minus in here, you cannot do that. You have to rewrite it this way and then multiply it together like we just did. So I take this in here, first term, multiply it times the first term over here, and times the second term. So we're going to have n times n. We'll have n times 10. Then I'll take my second term here, the 10, and multiply times the first term over here, and times the second term. So I got 10 times n, and I got 10 times 10. Well, n times n is n squared. N times 10 is 10n. 10 times n is 10n, and 10 times 10 is 100, which gives us n squared plus 20n plus 100. And that's our answer. Yeah, start a new page. And I guess time for that to blow up, so let me bring up another one. And let's take a look at number 19. Got negative 4y m to the third, negative 4y m to the third in over negative 9 y m to the 6 y m to the 6 in. Well, first off, when you got things that are exactly the same, you can always cancel them. N and n, those are going to go away. Y and y, those are going to go away. And a negative divided by negative becomes positive. Again, these are the same, aren't they? So you could cross them out. So we're left with 4m to the third over 9m to the 6. Now we would try to simplify the numbers first, but 4 and 9 we can't do anything with. So we go to the m's. If you have m to a power over m to a power, you subtract a smaller exponent from the larger one. So 6 minus 3 gives you 3. And we're going to have m to this power, m to the third power, where our larger exponent was, which was on the bottom. So I'm going to have m to the third down here. And then this disappears up here. We're just left with a 4. So that'd be our answer. Okay, number 20. We got x squared plus 12x plus 35 divided by x plus 5. And it says to divide using synthetic division. Well, synthetic division, we're going to take what we're dividing by, which is the x plus 5. We're going to set it equal to 0 and solve it. So take 5 over, and we get x is equal to negative 5. Then we're going to take whatever number we found in step 1 and put it in a box in the upper left-hand corner. And we'll set up our form. We identify our largest power, which is x squared. So real small, I'm going to write x squared, x, no x. Do not write those big, or you're probably going to have trouble getting the correct answer. Now we're going to write down the numbers in front of them. Well, there's no number in front of the x squared, so it's by default 1. Number in front of our x is a 12, and the number at the end is 35. Now we're going to go through a series of adding, multiplying over and over until we're done. We start with the first column here. We got 1 plus nothing, that gives us 1. Then we're going to multiply. You always multiply by number up in the box, by number you just put down here. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5, and then we put it here. Then when I add these, 12 and negative 5 gives us 7. Then we're going to multiply. You always multiply by number up in the box, by number you just put down here. Negative 5 times 7 is negative 35. And then we're going to add 35 and negative 35 gives us 0. Now, this is x squared. Straight down below it will be 1 degree lower. So this will be x. This will be our no x, or our constant term, and the 0 is our remainder. So our answer in this problem is x plus 7.